Hello and welcome to another episode with the WERF League. I am JT. I think below me, hopefully we'll be viewing this the same way, is Aaron. Diagonal below me this way, Dave, and I got Mikey to my right, well, maybe left, depending on it. You can find Aaron goes by AP at Vitamin Empire on Twitter, Dave at the Diablo 27, and Mikey at Dis Thy Mikey, all wise in there, on Twitter as well. How we doing, gentlemen?
Good, man. Loving the Cesar Hernandez homer as it is too.
Super nice out, so
Yeah.
can't complain. Yeah,
Doing well. Thanks, JT.
All right. Well, hopefully everyone had a solid Memorial Day weekend, and much respect to those who sacrificed it all for us. And I also take Memorial Weekend to remember loved ones lost as well. But today we're going to talk about some WERF trades. We've had 3 recently, and trying to get all involved on. I will be playing the role of Will, and then everyone else will be playing themselves. So just to keep it simple. So I'm going to share here what's been happening in our WERF League. So here at the bottom, our 11th overall trade. 11th overall trade was a 3-way trade. Little rock, paper, scissors action here involving Kevin Gossman, Liam Hendricks, Luke Voigt. Now, Luke Voigt was not injured at the time. You can see by the date, it happened on the 23rd of May. Gossman has a red flag, hip, day-to-day. Hips don't lie, but hopefully he's okay. So trying to read this correctly, Aaron, you traded away Gossman to Mikey. Mikey traded away Liam Hendricks to Will, and Will traded away Voigt to Aaron. So how did it all happen and go down, I guess, Mikey or Aaron?
I forgot who hit who up. I think we're in the league like main chat, and I think Aaron said he needed closer or saves. So I reached out to him. I think we started throwing around some names. I'd been talking to Will about moving a closer as well. And Aaron was saying that, it was kind of no dice with Will, was having trouble with valuations.
Funny, that's exactly what Aaron and I talked about.
Yeah. So it was pretty easy on our end because I was like, well, I know Will wants Liam, or I know he needs saves, so I can trade him Liam Hendricks. It's basically just about what I can get from Aaron. So we talked about, I think, a couple different things. I was trying to figure out, I'm having my own issues with valuations just this entire year. I feel like I'm kind of rusty, but I decided I just traded Trevor Bauer for Ohtani. So I figured I could shore up the starting pitching a little bit. I had an excess of closers, I feel like, and then let's see. Yeah, and then Will sent Luke Voigt over to Aaron. So I felt like it was a pretty fair trade. I'm not super upset about losing Hendricks. I actually am. Do you still who was it? Jake McGee? Have you traded him? I feel like I saw him. I did see him. Dang it. Well, I guess we'll talk about that too. But I was kind of wanting to talk to you after that trade and get that pinned down, but I've been busy.
Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, good summary there, Mikey. Yeah, I knew that I was looking to move an arm for a bat, and I had a feeling it would end up being a starting pitcher. I kind of moved the opposite direction with my team early in the year. I came out of the draft feeling a lot of depth in hitting, and then I really chipped away at that in trades early on. I think I sent McCutchen to Mikey during the draft for pitching for Zach Eflin. I think I sent Nick Solak over to John Hegland right after the draft to get some arms. Zach Davies busted, but JT Brubaker worked out okay. And I sent away Paul Goldschmidt to Will earlier this season for Steven Strasburg. So that's 3 trades where I'd moved away, kind of starting caliber bats. And then the injuries hit as they always do. Bryce Harper, Marcelo Zuna. Don't even want to talk about that whole situation. Seems pretty terrible. So I was genuinely concerned about being able to field a full lineup. The 2 util slots in this league have really created a scarcity of bats in combination with all the injuries this year. Feels very different in terms of waiver wire bats than other leagues that I'm in right now. So I was highly motivated to move an arm. I love Kevin Gausman. I targeted him in pretty much every league I'm in this year, and he's been incredible. But you got to trade someone who's going good if you want to get something back. And Luke Voigt, when healthy, like when I acquired him, was the kind of guy I was looking for, right? Someone who would bat somewhere between 2 and 5 in the lineup, had the potential to mash at a 40 home run pace, could rack up a lot of runs and RBIs. Those were the categories where I needed a lift. And I really appreciated Mikey being the intermediary. I will say at no point during this trade negotiation was there ever a 3-way DM. Mikey was always in the middle, and it was all me messaging Mikey and Mikey messaging back, and then Will doing the same with Mikey. And I genuinely think that made it a better overall user experience. Will and I have now completed 2 other trades on our own outside of this one, but the process has been painful, just painful. So Mikey really came in there and greased the wheels to make this happen, and I appreciated it.
Happy to do it.
Dave, you and I are the outsiders on this 3-way. We weren't involved in the 3-way. I'll have to say I've never been involved in a 3-way trade. I don't know if you have or want to speak to that.
I thought you were going to say you've never been involved in a 3-way.
No, I made sure I said trade there. This is a family episode.
Right.
But it is interesting to know the inner workings, how it worked in the background. So Mikey was the primary, and you had 2 trade partners working in between. So yeah, if I put on my Will hat, I have the best batting that there is if I'm Will, and I'm willing to trade away Voigt and get I'm just joking, I don't know how his batting is, but for Liam Hendricks, Chicago's winning despite who is steering the ship, but ultimately opportunities there for Hendricks, and he's a codified guy. So
he got like 3 saves in a day and a half, like 2 days ago.
Pretty valuable there.
Mikey, who are your other closers? Your territorial, you gave up Hendricks, right?
Yeah, I traded Hendricks. I also have let's see, I have Kwase, who is kind of the 1B in Cleveland. I have Diekman, I have Hansel Robles, and I also just got Garrett Whitlock, who was kind of doing, not closing, but was doing some high leverage relief stuff, and also might be a starter. So I'm excited about him. But yeah, I feel like I might even have room to move another closer. I also have Patino, who does not have a save yet, but could.
Yeah, that was my only question. I like it. I think it looks fair across the board.
Yeah, and with Hansel so hot right now, I mean, maybe he can hang on to that through the rest of the year. Some savvy pickup there. I think we'll move on. We'll move on to Dave's trade with Aaron. Dave, I'll let you go first on like how it materialized and who each of you were kind of targeting needs and
this is the easiest trade that I've ever made, and I've been doing this. I've been playing fantasy football since 1992 and baseball since 2006. This is probably a top 3 easiest deal I ever made because Aaron sent me such a fair offer almost immediately. So I just sent a message on our Twitter chat. First offer I got, why am I blank? Or Will sent me basically a list of what looked like a bunch of bench guys and said, I'll give you one of these for Matt Barnes, who I had alluded to in my first message that was kind of off limits, that I wanted to keep him. And the best player he had out of that group was maybe Kim, the Cardinals. I don't know. I just needed pitching bad. I think I've got like a dozen quality starts on the season. It's embarrassing. And then AP sent me an offer, that exact offer you see, but he also was throwing in Urias, but I didn't really have room. I've got too many middle infielders as it is. And I was also worried about fielding a full lineup, which is why I ended up bidding on Chris McCormick and Pujols, because I got a couple guys that don't have injured, that don't have timelines on. But yeah, so I think I'm second in sage or something like that. I've got Matt Barnes, I had Kenley, obviously. Also have Bard and Tyler Rogers, sort of the 1B to McGee. But, so I felt that I could get rid of Kenley without much trouble. I took a quick look at, Frankie has such good stuff, so it's baffling to me that his numbers don't look that great. I took a quick look at Fangraphs and looked at his, swinging strike rate, left on base, BABIP, O swing rate, stuff like that. And XFIP, those are sort of the 4 numbers I look at, 3 or 4. And everything looks like he, encouraging enough where I think they're going to be fine, and they're at least capable of getting quality starts. Unlike it seems some of my other guys, like Jameson Taillon, for example. Sonny Gray has been hurt and unreliable as far as the quality starts go, but seems to be turning a corner. But yeah, this really helped shore up my pitching. So I was pleased with it. I really liked Hunter Dozier coming into the season, but he's just continued to kill me. I've got him in a bunch of leagues, so I'm still rooting for him. That hurt to give him up just because of the injuries. I don't have a lot of corner infielders, but yeah, I think it worked out well, just in terms of getting me some actual pitchers. I mean, I picked up Merrill Kelly last week, and I thought that was like a huge win for me, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, nice little
pitching
streamer there, though. I like the stats that you ran down. I think you just quoted the exact ones from the RotoWare shirt. I think I actually wore it yesterday to my family function, and my brother-in-law was like, "Hey, he's a big Star Wars fan." He goes, "That's not a Star Wars shirt, is it?" I go, "No, you would be mistaken." And this is a bunch of random fantasy metrics and stats. So got a kick out of that. But
there are so many, under the hood, quote unquote, metrics these days. I pretty much ignore anything that ends in bacon. But and my go-to metrics when I'm looking, I'm really fascinated with pitching, which is weird. I usually end up with really loaded pitching, and then I have to scramble for bats. This year it's been the opposite. Partially because I made some stupid decisions, and partially because pitching just seems slim pickings this year. But I generally speaking, I just need to look at LOB rate, make sure that's not crazy high, FIP, XFIP, or XCRA. Those, whatever. I like XFIP probably the best. I look at first pitch strike occasionally. Swing strike rate is my biggest metric. I mean, if you look at the leaderboard at the end of any given season or in the middle of any given season, a swing strike rate, that'll be the top pitchers in baseball. And then I look at chase rate too to see what they're doing. And it looked like Brubaker, I didn't know anything about the guy until this season. And he's got what I think half of his starts have been of the quality variety. And it looks like he's got decent stuff. His swing strike rate wasn't, anything to write home about, but it was fine. Yep. But I can't pull up my pitching staff because I'm on this video right now, but it was a sorry state of affairs. I mean, it's not exactly a Cy Young group right now, but this certainly helps. Yeah. And I thought, like I said before, I thought I could give up Kenley without losing a ton.
I would say one thing: whenever you're looking at someone named JT, just think solid quality. That's my 2 cents. But I was going to turn it over to Aaron. Dave said top 3 trade offer he's ever gotten. Didn't even really have to think about it. That's a nice compliment.
I meant that also in terms of, it was a great offer in terms of fair value.
Yeah.
Because, usually, it's generally speaking, offers come in, you have to negotiate. The first one, you're trying to maybe get lucky and go for the moon. And a lot of times they're laughable. But this one was, I knew I was going to take it within 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll say it was a pretty seamless experience for me too. Tried to send over something that seemed reasonable. He'd made it clear in the league chat that quality starts is where he was lagging behind. And I do like to start off with something that I think I could see myself taking if I were in the other person's shoes. I also would rate it as a pretty great trade experience in that I even offered an extra guy, right, Luis Urias of the Brewers, as a little bat back to help him with any depth issues for Hunter Dozier. And I think he sent the same trade offer back, subtracting the guy he didn't need, which is quite a courtesy, which is great. I think for me, this trade boiled down to trying to assess a few different things at once. Like what roto stats have I already banked this year? What do I expect from my roster going forward? And what do I think, like what depth do I have to trade from? And what do I think will be useful for future flexibility? So quality starts, our league currently has a range from 12 quality starts, which is Dave, as he alluded to. And I'm leading our league with 41 quality starts. And most folks are sitting like the middle of the pack is in the 20s. There's a few guys in the 30s. I've got a 4 quality start league on second place right now. So in terms of banked stats, that's an easy one to trade away from. And I wasn't overly worried about an inability to accumulate them going forward. I mean, I did just trade Gaussman to Mikey and then sent 2 more pitchers away. But this is an area where my waiver wire pickups have been strangely fortunate this year. Getting waiver wire claims over the first month of Alex Wood, Luis Garcia of the Astros, and Domingo German of the Yankees. I think those 3.
Who I dropped.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think all 3 of those are likely to give me a bunch of quality, 6th inning outings going forward. So complementing my sort of base guys like Strasburg and Nola, I felt safe enough to keep moving starting pitching away. Acquiring Dozier was I just need bats. I just need bats to fill up the lineup. He's been good before. He's had a good walk rate before. So in this OBP league, I'm hoping he can hold his own, even if it's not an amazing year for him. And then Kenley actually made it easier to make my next trade. I've sort of been sitting on 1 full closer, Hector Neris, and then 1 partial closer in Jake McGee and Josh Staumont, who had seemingly become the Royals' primary guy, and then promptly, I think, sprained something and went on the IL. And there's so much interest, so much trade chatter around saves in our league that it felt prudent to acquire a guy when I had the chance, even if I don't know exactly how desperate my need will be going forward. So I think having Kenley and Neris locked in as 2 full closers gives me the luxury to treat guys like Staumont and McGee as trade chips going forward. And in fact, it made it easier to pull the trigger on a deal a few minutes later with Will to move Jake McGee as a result.
And Mikey, I'd be interested to get your take on the at least maybe the starting pitchers here involved in the trade with Montes and Brubaker. I respect your opinion on pitchers and love the article about Rogers down there. And in San Francisco, we were talking about wiffle ball, and he threw that. I finally got a breakdown watching that. I was like, that's a wiffle ball thing, because the way I throw a wiffle ball, it's only slotted on one side. You can really manipulate that. Anyways, any thoughts on Montes Brubaker before we move on to the next trade?
Yeah, I'm initially when he started throwing the splitty, I liked him as like a breakout candidate, but he lets or allows too many balls into play, so it kind of limits his strikeout upside. I like him just fine, but I think at this point I'm a little below the field on him. Brubaker, I haven't looked into for a minute, but if I remember correctly, really, really love his slider, and he throws it a lot. So he's just a player who, maximizes and optimizes his skill set. I would have liked to have traded for him. And I think Aaron's kind of summation of like who Hunter Dozier is a good one. I know that like plate appearances, just in terms of standings, like league standings, plate appearances like are predictive of success, because most people don't really think about it, but obviously like the more your guys play, the more they accumulate stats. Obviously you can't just build a team of plate appearance guys, but it should be something you're taking significantly into consideration. It's kind of like back in like 2016 and 17, like Lance McCullers was pitching as well as Kershaw, but he was also going like 2 innings, less deep into games. So I think I like it. I think it's really fair for both sides. And obviously I don't really think it makes sense to view it as like, oh, these 2 players, for these 2 players, it's team context, these two players, team contacts these two players, and I think they both helped address some things that they're after. So, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of how I try to trade, I definitely try and be fair and just, make sure that both sides are getting what they want to get. If I can fleece someone just because they're like, yeah, then I'll do that. But I don't know. I think it makes more sense to not be a jerk, and then people will want to trade with you in the future.
The biggest thing for me, Mikey, sorry to interrupt,
Very good.
is when I get offers, it's like the person hasn't looked at what I need. They're just throwing over, in a vacuum, sort of, this guy for this guy. And it's a lot of times it's like, okay, how does this possibly help me? It doesn't most of the time. But I think Aaron clearly did a good job of looking at the context, is what you're saying. I guess that's my point.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's the biggest thing. Like whenever if I make an offer, I spend a good deal of time looking at, okay, how can these guys help this guy's team? And Montas and Brubaker, I think. So who's my pitching then? DeGrom, Sonny, Flaherty, and then Montas, Brubaker, and then I have Merrill Kelly and Tyone, and I can't remember who else. But I think that rounds out. I think that makes it a decent starting five, so to speak.
Yeah, I think up until 2018, I wasn't much of a trader. My guys were my guys on my team, and if I had a deficiency, I just looked towards the waiver wire. And any trades that I was involved in, usually in the home league, people are trying to take advantage of you. But in 2019, I thought about it a different way, and I was like, if I kill them with kindness and try to offer fair up front, I can get better quality than I'm getting on the waiver. And if we come at a standpoint of my first interaction is, hey, I need this. I see you have a lot of it. Is there anything that you need stats wise? And try to keep it short and sweet, but move from there. And I think I went from just a handful of trades in my fantasy baseball career to 18 trades made in 2019. So it definitely is a very viable option and probably highly recommended, because ultimately, even if you fleece someone, not only they will probably not want to come back, or the rest of the league, when involving a trade with anyone else in your league, they might be a little on the defensive initially. But Zoom popped up. We got like 8 minutes left here before I have to upgrade, and I don't want to upgrade. So we're going to move here to the most recent trade, Tyler O'Neill and Jake McGee. So that was involving Will and Aaron. So go ahead, Aaron, take us through it here shortly.
Yeah, so this trade was under discussion since even before Dave and I started negotiations. And I will be perfectly honest and in alignment with what Dave said here. Will basically opened negotiations by indicating he was interested in McGee, which he'd indicated several times in the last several weeks. And then by copying and pasting a list of players he was willing to part with, which was basically the guys on his bench and the guys he was about to drop. And the last couple of versions of that list that I'd received the previous couple of weeks, about half the guys on that list got dropped in Fab, a few hours later. So
I think I got that same list.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's been 13 trades in WERF so far this year. I've been in 7 of them. So I'm a pretty active trader. I'm willing to be an active trader. And Will and I have directly dealt with one another in 2 of those 7. And I've exchanged far more Twitter direct messages for those 2 trades combined than the other 5 combined. I think he and I both got headaches and took breaks from talking to each other during the trade process of both trades that we completed. So I don't know if it's something about Will's style as he comes to the table differently, if there's something about the chemistry that he and I are lacking. We got to the finish line twice now, but not without him acting incredulous a number of times along the way. And this offer, the one we settled on, was my initial offer. And he spent a lot of time trying to convince me it needed to be a 2-for-2, where he needed to get another upgrade somewhere else. And I continued to indulge different ideas and explore possibilities. And we kind of eventually reached the idea that, no, there's not really 2 other appropriate pieces to make up whatever incremental difference we perceive between these 2. He knows what he's looking for. I also think the fact that I completed that trade with Dave while we were negotiating took Kenley Jansen off the trade market onto my team from Dave's team, Dave being the other guy who was advertising saves available in trade, created more leverage for me in my negotiations with Will, because now there was no one else advertising saves available for him to go to. And I think he felt like he had to come to the table and meet my ask. Ultimately, Tyler O'Neill's still a gamble. I love the power upside. He's flashed it so far. What does he have? 11, 12 home runs, and he hasn't even been healthy the whole year. I think the OBP still might be 299 right now, and it's as likely to go down as up. But I need healthy bats. This guy could absolutely give me a boost in home runs and RBIs, and having Jansen filed away along with Hector Neris gave me the flexibility to do it. So, would I trade with Will again? If we can make each other's teams better, I'd like to. But if I've got a busy weekend, if I'm at a wedding, if I've got family obligations, I might just not push quite as hard as it takes to get a deal done with Mr. Will.
Yeah, on the surface, looking at the trade, it looks pretty straightforward. McGee might be getting more of the share of saves moving forward. Rogers been a little bit shaky, but just that's results. I'm not seeing what actually is going into that. And then O'Neill, yeah, he swings. He swings and hits. He swings and misses. Lots of Ks, lots of power. So I think there's a fair amount of risk in both, but just from a peripheral look, it looks like solid. Straight up 1-for-1. I'm still waiting for a 2-for-1 or 3-for-2. Ever since I realized that the settings were a little off when Mikey and Aaron wanted to make a trade during the draft, was it? Or right after? It wanted to be 2-for-1?
It was during it.
Okay, yeah. So I've updated them since. I had to contact Fantrax and figure it out, but I'm still waiting on it. I'm like, hey, I did it, so I want to see it. So maybe that's the next challenge. So let's see what the three-way trade was. 11, 12, 13. So trade 14. That's my challenge. An odd for an even number of players. How about that? Just phrase it that way.
We almost had it yesterday.
Yeah.
Hey, we can make it happen. You need a closer pretty badly. Pretty badly.
I'm telling myself I punted saves, and I just should have stuck with that. As soon as I traded for Rosenthal, that should have been the writing on the wall. Don't even try, JT. But anyways, we're running up against the time limit, unfortunately, for recording. I'll go to kick it to each of you. Any last thoughts? Plug your Twitter, anything else you're working on. Dave, start us off.
I don't have anything to plug, man. I just want to say thanks for having me. It's the first time I've been on a podcast since 2018, so it's nice to talk baseball with you dudes. Yeah, thanks again for the fair offer. It made it really easy. You said we negotiated. I don't even think we did. It was just quick back and forth, and I sent you a thank you afterwards. I think that was about it. Just the way I like it.
Awesome. Mikey?
Yeah, nothing really to plug either. Just posting articles. But yeah, I don't know. It was fun. It's always fun trading.
Baseball is fun. At least it should be. It's supposed to be. Aaron?
Yeah, nothing special to plug, but thanks for having me on, JT, and thanks for pushing so hard to build this community. I'm excited to see what WERF's going to feel like the next few years.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. Thank you all. It's been great group of people to collaborate with and throw zingers back and forth and lots of gifts. But I think ultimately, I really want to get as much people as I can for just a off-air group chat, hangout, shoot the whatever moon, if anybody plays Pinochle. But yeah, it's coming along. I go camping a lot, so I think I am choosing and picking my own weekend to be there. But at a certain point, I kind of want it focused on Discord sometimes. Be like, hey, if I'm on, hey, anybody else want to just chat or talk about the game that's on, and or whatever, life. It doesn't have to be baseball. We're all connected because of fantasy baseball, but that doesn't need to be the topic necessarily. But it's always a good icebreaker. So I'll leave it with this. Dave, can find Dave at the Diablo 27. Mikey, you can find him on Twitter at just thy Mikey. get those Y's in there. And Aaron, AP, find him on Twitter at Vitamin Empire. Thank you all. And until next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep enjoying baseball.